The Honourable Kate Wilkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's a pleasure to stand and take a call on the first reading of the Victims' Orders Against Violent Offenders Bill. Mr. Speaker, it's also a pleasure to follow what I think have been two pretty considered contributions, both by New Zealand First member and also by the Green member, but actually from opposite ends of the spectrum. The Green contribution I was somewhat disappointed with, because when we hear terms such as this imposes a potent set of conditions to impose on a person, and he's focused totally on the offender, and when he thinks the status quo is okay and talks about double jeopardy and Bill of Rights of the offender, I think actually his attention is in the wrong area, Mr. Speaker, because we are focused on the victims, as the victims who are the innocent ones in this situation, and we are focused on the victims. I also think that the New Zealand First contribution was pretty thoughtful, and I guess my comment on that is that that is the whole purpose of having the bill go to select committee, so that some of those issues can be teased out, can be discussed, and can be decided upon at that select committee stage. Mr. Speaker, in a nutshell, the bill provides for a non-contact order that prohibits an offender from any form of contact with a victim, and can impose conditions. Whether those conditions are tight enough or not tight enough, again, is a matter for the select committee. We have heard a contribution from the Labour members talking about the threshold, whether the threshold of 5 years imprisonment for the offender is actually the right threshold. Maybe it is too high, Mr. Speaker. I don't know the answer to that, but again, I'm sure that that will be an issue that will be fully traversed at that select committee stage. But I have to say, Mr. Speaker, if we really want to sum it up, it is totally unacceptable to have a situation where a victim of a serious crime may have unwanted contact with their attacker. And that's the bottom line, because the priority has to be the victim, not the offender. And, Mr. Speaker, this bill is a good bill. It's not the only bill, of course. It's part of a program. It's part of a suite of measures. And actually, Mr. Speaker, I think our record on crime as a party on law and order and on victims is pretty good. Outstanding, Dr. Corder. In fact, outstanding. And if we just traverse that just momentarily, we introduced a $50 victims offender levy. And at the time, remember at the time, the Labour members said that was a gimmick. A gimmick, wouldn't work. Total gimmick. A bizarre piece of gimmickry is what they said. Well, actually, the amount collected from that is $4.4 million. $4.4 million. That's been collected from it, from $50 offender levy. And if we look at some of the programs that have benefited from that, we've got a Safe at Home program for women and families at highest risk of serious injury or death. We've got a discretionary grant to assist families of homicide victims. We've got funding for homicide support coordinators. Mr. Speaker, our record on this is outstanding. But that's not all, Mr. Speaker. We have created 13 new services and entitlement for victims. We've also increased restorative justice. We've expanded the restorative justice services. They receive an extra $4.4 million. That actually means a total of an extra 2,400 conferences. And in addition to that, we have now police safety orders to help prevent domestic violence. I understand since their introduction there's been over 27,000 of these orders. Mr. Speaker, National is the party for law and order. National is the party that is focused on victims. This bill is a good bill. It's part of that suite of measures, and I certainly look forward to receiving the Select Committee report once it's come out from proper consultation and discussion. Mr. Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.
The Honourable Phil Goff.
Mr. Speaker, Labour will be